My name is Jake, and up until that moment at the altar, I thought I had my life figured out. I grew up in a family where I was always the reliable one, the one who got good grades, kept his head down, and didn't cause trouble. My older brother, Lucas, on the other hand, was the golden boy. Tall, charming, effortlessly successful, he had a way of making everyone fall in love with him, including our parents. Sienna came into my life a couple of years ago. We met at a mutual friend's party, and despite her being way out of my league, we hit it off instantly. She was everything I thought I wanted, smart, ambitious, and drop-dead gorgeous. My parents adored her, especially my mom, who would often comment on how lucky I was to have someone like Sienna by my side. Little did I know that admiration had a lot to do with Lucas's interest in her as well. As I left the grand hall, the air felt heavy, suffocating. My footsteps echoed through the ornate corridors, each step distancing me from the nightmare that had just unfolded. Outside, the sun was too bright, too cheery, completely at odds with the storm churning inside me. I didn't know where to go or what to do. My mind was reeling, replaying Sienna's cold words over and over. Pay me your entire paycheck every month or I'll marry your rich brother. I made it to the estate gardens where I could hide behind the tall hedges and catch my breath. A few guests had wandered out, confused whispers trailing behind them. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to explain. I just wanted to vanish. My phone buzzed again, another missed call from Mom. I couldn't face her. I couldn't face any of them. They had practically applauded when Sienna had turned to Lucas. I could still hear Mom's excited whisper, "Oh, Lucas, you've always been the one for her." I sank onto a bench, burying my face in my hands. I had spent years trying to live up to their expectations, always falling short compared to Lucas. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. I was just the dependable one, the guy who never caused trouble, who didn't shine but didn't screw up either. I had thought that by finding someone like Sienna, beautiful, smart, ambitious, I was finally proving I could have something just as good as Lucas. But even she wanted him. I thought back to the early days with Sienna, the coffee dates, the late-night conversations where we talked about our dreams. Had any of it been real? Or had she always seen me as a stepping stone to someone better? The thought made my stomach turn. A soft voice pulled me from my thoughts. I looked up to see my cousin Rachel, her expression caught between pity and confusion. "Hey! I saw what happened. Are you okay?" I forced a weak smile. "Yeah, just needed some air." Rachel hesitated, glancing back toward the hall. "Everyone's talking about it. Your mom's saying it was just a misunderstanding. That you overreacted." "Of course. Spin the narrative to protect Lucas. Pretend I was being dramatic." My jaw clenched. "Figures," I muttered. Rachel sat next to me, keeping her voice low. "I didn't believe it. I know you wouldn't just walk out for no reason." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. She basically blackmailed me at the altar. Said if I didn't agree to give her my paycheck every month, she'd marry Lucas instead. Rachel's eyes widened. "Are you serious? And they just let her do that?" I nodded. "And Lucas?" He just stepped in like he was waiting for it. Like they had planned it all along. Her hand tightened on mine. "That's messed up. You deserve better." I wanted to believe that. But right now, it just felt like the universe was telling me I wasn't good enough again. My phone buzzed once more. This time, it was a message from Lucas. "Let's talk. You're blowing this out of proportion." I shoved the phone back into my pocket, not ready to face him. "Not now. Maybe not ever." Rachel squeezed my shoulder. "You're better off without them," she said. "If they can't see what they've done, they're not worth it." The sun was dipping lower, the day that was supposed to mark the beginning of my new life instead of marking the end of the one I thought I knew. I knew I couldn't hide out in the garden forever, but going back inside felt impossible. I just wanted to escape. I stayed hidden in the garden for what felt like hours. Eventually, the distant hum of conversations from the wedding faded as the guests began to disperse. My phone buzzed relentlessly, but I didn't have the strength to check it. Finally, curiosity won out and I glanced at the screen. The most recent message was from my dad. "You need to come back and fix this mess. We can't just let people think you ran off." Typical. No concern for how I felt, just the family image. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to get out of there completely. I slipped through the garden gate and headed down the gravel path toward the estate's parking lot where my car was parked. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stay there. Just as I reached my car, I heard someone call my name. I turned to see Mark jogging over, his suit jacket half off, tie loosened. "Man, I've been looking everywhere for you. Are you okay?" I managed a half-hearted shrug. "Define okay." Mark frowned, leaning against the car. "Rachel told me what happened. I still can't believe it." "Lucas? Really?" I huffed out a bitter laugh. "Yeah. Seems like they all think it's fine. Even my parents didn't seem to care. I can't be there." He nodded, understanding. "Then don't be. Let's get out of here. We can grab a drink or just drive. Anything's better than sticking around with those people." I hesitated. "What about the reception? People will notice we're gone." Mark scoffed. "Let them. You don't owe them a performance. Come on." We drove out of the estate, winding through back roads until we reached a small, dimly lit bar on the outskirts of town. It was almost empty, which suited me just fine. We took a booth in the corner and Mark ordered a couple of beers. As the bartender slid the drinks over, I finally felt some of the tension ease. So Mark started, taking a long drink. Have you talked to your parents at all? Or Lucas? I shook my head. What's the point? They've made it clear whose side they're on. Even if I told them everything, they'd still find a way to make it my fault. Mark gave me a hard look. That's because they're used to you rolling over and taking it. You've spent your whole life being the nice guy, letting Lucas get away with murder because it's easier than fighting back. He wasn't wrong. I'd always chosen the path of least resistance, hoping that one day my family would finally see my worth without me having to demand it. Clearly, that strategy had failed. Mark leaned forward, his eyes intense. You deserve better than this. Better than Lucas, better than Sienna, better than your parents treating you like an afterthought. Stop waiting for them to change. I looked down at my drink, processing his words. It's just. I didn't think they'd do this. Not at my wedding. I knew they preferred Lucas, but this. Mark sighed. People like your brother don't change unless they're forced to. Maybe it's time you stop letting him walk all over you. Make them face the consequences. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again, a message from Sienna. Please, let's talk. You're being irrational. I showed it to Mark, who snorted. Irrational? She tried to extort you at the altar. Let her stew in it. You don't owe her anything. For once, I agreed. I turned off my phone completely, determined not to let them drag me back into their twisted version of reality. Mark raised his beer, and I clinked mine against it. To moving on, he said. To not being a doormat, I replied. The next morning, I woke up on Mark's couch, a stiff neck reminding me that I had crashed there after our late-night venting session. Mark was already in the kitchen, making coffee. He handed me a cup without a word, just a nod that said he understood how messed up I felt. Any regrets about last night? He asked. I shook my head. No. Turning my phone off was the best decision I've made in a while. Mark chuckled. Good. You don't need to hear their excuses. Let them stew. After finishing breakfast, I finally caved and turned my phone back on, bracing for the flood of messages. Surprisingly, there was one from Rachel, not just my parents or Sienna. I opened it cautiously. Hey, just checking in. Heard from some of the family that Lucas and Sienna left together after the reception. Your parents are furious at you for leaving, but honestly, screw them. You did the right thing. My heart sank a little. So they really went through with it, Lucas and Sienna leaving together like they were the real couple all along. I showed the message to Mark, who scoffed. Of course they did. They don't care about how it looks. They just wanted to get what they wanted. I didn't reply to Rachel right away. Instead, I tried to focus on what Mark had said the night before. If I was ever going to break free from this cycle of being Lucas's scapegoat, I needed to take control of my own narrative. After I got dressed, Mark suggested we go out and clear our heads. We ended up at the park, sitting on a bench while the morning joggers passed by. I was still trying to figure out my next move when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Emily. I remembered her vaguely from family gatherings, Lucas's fiancée, or maybe ex-fiancé now, given everything that had happened. I opened the message cautiously. We need to talk. I think you should know the full story about Lucas and Sienna. Call me when you can. Mark raised an eyebrow when I told him. Maybe she knows more than we do. Worth hearing her out. I hesitated, not sure I could handle more revelations. But curiosity won out and I dialed her number. Emily picked up almost immediately, her voice tense but controlled. Thanks for calling, she said. I wasn't sure if you'd want to talk. I kept my tone neutral. What's going on? She sighed. I found out about Lucas and Sienna before the wedding, but I didn't know how to confront him. He made it sound like you were the problem, that you were too controlling, and that Sienna was just looking for a way out. He made me believe that you'd overreact if you found out. My jaw clenched. So he lied to you too? Yes. I didn't realize how deep it went until the wedding. When Sienna made that switch, it all clicked. Lucas planned the whole thing to make you look bad. He wanted to be the hero, the one who saved her from a bad relationship. It's sick. Mark muttered a curse under his breath. I didn't know whether to feel angry or just exhausted. So he was manipulating both of us, I said. Emily's voice softened. I'm sorry I didn't warn you sooner. I thought maybe if I just played along, Lucas would come to his senses. I was wrong. I didn't blame her. We had both been played by the same man, used as pawns in his twisted game. Thanks for telling me, I replied. At least now I know the truth. Before hanging up, Emily hesitated. If you need help setting the record straight, let me know. I'm done covering for him. When the call ended, I let out a long breath. Mark was right. Lucas wasn't just impulsive, he was calculated, manipulating everyone to maintain his golden boy image. This time, I wasn't going to just let it go. Hearing Emily's side of the story made the anger boil up again. Lucas didn't just betray me, he went out of his way to destroy me. I couldn't help but wonder how many people had swallowed his lies over the years, convinced that I was always the problem while he played the charming victim. Mark could tell I was stewing. You gotta do something about this, man. You can't just let him get away with it. I nodded slowly. I need to confront him. Not just for me, but to make sure everyone knows the truth. Mark grinned. That's the spirit. Want me to come with? I appreciated the offer, but this was something I needed to do on my own. No. I have to do this myself. But I might need backup if things get ugly. I called Emily again, letting her know that I planned to confront Lucas. She agreed to meet me there, promising to back me up with the evidence she had gathered. Armed with that knowledge, I finally felt like I had some control back. The confrontation took place at my parents' house. When I arrived, Lucas was there, lounging on the porch like nothing had happened. He looked up, feigning surprise. "Oh, look who decided to show his face. You done sulking?" I didn't rise to the bait. "We need to talk." He smirked. "About what? Are you making a fool of yourself? Everyone's talking about how you ran out like a little." "Shut up." I surprised myself with the force behind my words. "I know everything, Lucas. Emily told me. You set the whole thing up to make me look like the bad guy. You didn't care about Sienna, you just wanted to prove you could take something from me." For a split second, I saw something flicker in his eyes, panic. Then he laughed. "You're delusional. Sienna came to me because she realized you weren't good enough for her. It's not my fault you couldn't keep her happy." Emily stepped forward from behind me. "You lied to me, Lucas. You made me think he was controlling, that Sienna was some helpless victim. But you planned the whole thing." "I saw the messages." Lucas's face paled. "What messages?" Emily pulled out her phone, showing the screenshots to both Lucas and my parents, who had come out to see what the commotion was about. The texts clearly showed Lucas bragging about how he'd make sure I looked like a fool at the wedding, how Sienna was just a pawn. My mother looked stunned, her hand covering her mouth. My father, however, seemed more annoyed than shocked. "Lucas, what is this? You made it seem like it was his fault." Lucas tried to laugh it off. "Those are out of context. She's just bitter." But Emily didn't let up. "Out of context? You literally said, once he walks out, I'll be the hero. Everyone will see I'm the better brother. How's that for context?" My father's gaze hardened. "Lucas, is this true?" Lucas scoffed, but his bravado was slipping. "Why are you taking his side now? He's always been jealous of me. You know that." I stepped forward. "Jealous of you? You've always taken what you wanted without caring who you hurt. I've spent my whole life trying to be good enough, and you've done nothing but tear me down to make yourself look better." Silence hung heavy. For once, Lucas didn't have a quick comeback. My parents exchanged uncertain glances, as if realizing for the first time that maybe, just maybe, they had been wrong about their golden boy. Emily looked at me, a small smile of encouragement on her face. "You don't have to keep defending yourself. The truth is out now." I took a deep breath, finally feeling lighter. Lucas stormed off, muttering under his breath, but I didn't follow. I didn't care what his next move was. I had stood my ground, and for once, my parents were forced to see that Lucas wasn't perfect. After the confrontation, I stayed at my parents' house longer than I had planned. My mother, still reeling from the revelation, kept glancing at me as if seeing me for the first time. My father, meanwhile, seemed more focused on the embarrassment of it all rather than the actual betrayal. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" Mom finally asked, her voice trembling. I bit back the urge to laugh. "Would you have believed me? You always took Lucas's side, no matter what. Even when I tried to speak up before, you made excuses for him." Dad grumbled something about family loyalty, but I cut him off. Family loyalty doesn't mean letting one person destroy everyone else. You've let Lucas act like this for years because you didn't want to admit that your golden boy was a bully. They didn't have an answer for that. Emily gave me a nod, signaling that she had done what she had come to do. I followed her out to the driveway where Mark was waiting. As we got into the car, I felt the adrenaline drain out of me, replaced by a strange emptiness. "Do you think they'll finally hold him accountable?" I asked. Emily hesitated. "They might. Or they might just sweep it under the rug like always. You did what you needed to do, though. You stood up to him. That's what matters." Mark gave me a pat on the shoulder. "You faced him, man. That's huge. Whether your parents get it or not, you did the right thing." Back at Mark's apartment, we sat around the coffee table, decompressing. Emily pulled out her phone and started going through messages. "It's spreading," she said. "Some of Lucas's old friends are reaching out to me, saying they always knew something was off about him." I leaned back, trying to absorb it all. Maybe this will finally change things. Maybe people will see him for who he really is. Mark grinned. "If nothing else, you finally got to say your piece. That's worth something." The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages. Some were supportive from friends who had seen the fallout online. A few were from family members, mostly neutral, just asking if I was okay. But one stood out. It was from Rachel. "Just heard from Mom and Dad. They're mad at Lucas for once. Apparently, he didn't come home last night. Guess he's sulking. Good for you for standing up to him. Proud of you." I showed the message to Mark, who gave a triumphant fist pump. About time they see through his crap. Emily was scrolling through social media, her expression shifting from satisfaction to mild concern. Some people are still defending him, saying it's just brothers being competitive. They don't get how deep it goes. I sighed. Lucas has always been good at playing the victim when it suits him. I guess not everyone is going to see the truth. Mark nodded. Can't change everyone's mind. Just focus on the people who matter. That evening, as the dust continued to settle, I decided to send a message to my parents. I need time to figure out how I feel about everything. I'm not ready to forgive Lucas. I don't know if I ever will. Please respect that. It was a risk, putting up that boundary. But for once, I needed to make it clear that I wasn't going to just move on because they wanted me to. To my surprise, my mom replied almost immediately, "We understand. Take your time." I stared at the screen, not sure whether to feel relieved or suspicious. Maybe they were finally starting to see the damage Lucas had done. Or maybe they just wanted to pretend everything was fine again. Either way, I wasn't rushing back into that toxic environment. A week passed since the confrontation and life felt weirdly normal. Emily and I kept in touch, mostly exchanging updates on how Lucas's story was unraveling. His social media presence had all but disappeared. Mutual friends were divided, some still bought into his victim narrative, while others reached out to me, apologizing for not seeing through him sooner. Mark kept me busy, trips to the gym, spontaneous hikes, anything to keep me moving. I needed it. The more I stayed active, the less I felt like I was drowning in my thoughts. One afternoon, while we were shooting hoops at the park, Rachel showed up. She looked more confident than I'd ever seen her. "Hey, got a minute?" Mark gave us space, wandering over to the other side of the court. Rachel sat on the bench, looking thoughtful. "I wanted to say I'm proud of you," she started. "I know how hard it must have been to stand up to Lucas like that." I shrugged. It was overdue. I just never thought he'd go that far. She nodded. "None of us did. And honestly, Mom and Dad are still struggling to process it. They're not used to seeing Lucas as anything other than the perfect son." I leaned against the bench, processing her words. It's weird. Part of me almost feels bad for them. They built this whole identity around him being the golden child. Now that's crumbling. Rachel gave me a wry smile. "Maybe it's time they finally saw reality. I'm just glad you didn't let him keep walking all over you. It's about time someone told him no." We talked for a while longer, mostly about family dynamics and how things had always been tilted in Lucas's favor. Rachel admitted that she had often felt overlooked too, especially when Lucas was around. It was a strange realization, knowing I wasn't the only one who felt diminished in his shadow. When I got back to Mark's place, Emily had sent another message. "Heard through the grapevine, Lucas is planning some kind of apology post. Be prepared." I rolled my eyes. Of course, he'd try to twist the narrative again. I texted her back, "Let him try. The truth's out now." That night, as I was scrolling through old photos on my phone, a sense of clarity washed over me. I couldn't change the past. Lucas had spent years trying to outshine me, and I had spent just as long trying not to rock the boat. But now, for the first time, I wasn't afraid of standing my ground. Mark interrupted my thoughts by tossing a beer at me. "To new beginnings," he toasted. I clinked the bottle against him, realizing he was right. This was the start of something different, something better. I didn't have to be stuck in Lucas's shadow anymore. The next morning, I woke up to a flurry of notifications. Sure enough, Lucas had posted a long, tearful apology video. In it, he claimed he had been overwhelmed with jealousy and just wanted to feel valued. He said he never meant to hurt anyone and blamed his actions on feeling neglected compared to me, the reliable, responsible brother. Emily texted me right after. "He's playing the sympathy card hard. People are eating it up." I checked the comments, and sure enough, his usual supporters were flooding the post with messages of encouragement, praising him for being so brave and honest. I could feel the familiar frustration rising, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. Mark was less restrained. That manipulative snake. He's spinning it like he's the victim. Classic Lucas. I wanted to fire back with my post, but Emily called, urging caution. "Don't react publicly just yet. Let him dig his own grave. People are already questioning his sincerity. Just watch." So I waited, keeping my silence while Lucas's video gained traction. Sure enough, after a few hours, cracks started appearing. One of his old friends, someone who had distanced himself years ago, posted a comment. "Funny how you only apologize when it blows up in your face. Maybe try not sabotaging your brother next time." That one comment set off a chain reaction. Others who had seen the evidence Emily and I posted started calling him out, pointing out inconsistencies and reminding people that Lucas only apologized after being exposed. His narrative started to crumble as more people questioned his motives. Later that day, Rachel texted me, "Mom and Dad are actually talking about family therapy. Don't know if it'll happen, but it's something." I wasn't sure how to feel about that. Part of me wanted to hope, but I also didn't want to get sucked back into their endless cycle of denial and favoritism. Mark nudged me out of my thoughts. "Dude, you should be proud. You didn't stoop to his level. People are seeing the truth without you having to fight every comment." He was right. I hadn't had to retaliate. Lucas's actions were unraveling his story. For once, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just living my life, and that was enough. Emily sent one last message before bed. "You did good. Don't let him drag you back into the mess. Let him self-destruct." With a new sense of calm, I shut off my phone. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I finally felt like I could face it without the weight of trying to please everyone else. I wasn't perfect, and I didn't need to be. I just needed to be honest, especially with myself. Over the next few weeks, life started to settle into something resembling normalcy. Lucas's video had its moments of drama, but as more people spoke out against him, his credibility took a nosedive. Eventually, he removed the post altogether, and I couldn't help but feel a small sense of satisfaction. For once, he couldn't just charm his way out. Emily called one evening, her voice lighter than usual. "Looks like people finally caught on. Even his former coworkers are sharing stories about how manipulative he was at work. Guess the golden boy image is officially tarnished." I couldn't help but smile. About time. Still, the thought of family therapy lingered. Rachel texted me regularly, keeping me updated on how our parents were reacting. They seemed to be coming to terms with the idea that Lucas wasn't the perfect son they'd always believed him to be. But I couldn't just let go of the years of favoritism and hurt. It wasn't that simple. Mark wasn't convinced. Therapy's great and all, but are they doing it for the right reasons? Or just because they're embarrassed? It was a valid point. I didn't want to be dragged into a performative attempt at fixing the family if the root issues weren't addressed. After a lot of thought, I texted Rachel back. I'm open to therapy if it's about fixing real problems, not just saving face. A few days later, my mom called. I hadn't spoken to her directly since the confrontation. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. We're sorry. We didn't see how much we were hurting you. We just always assumed Lucas needed more support and we didn't realize how much that cost you. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was a start. It's not just about Lucas, I replied. It's about how I was always made to feel like I didn't matter. I can't keep pretending everything's fine just because it's easier for everyone else. There was a long pause. We'd like to try family therapy. Not just for Lucas, but for us too. I understand if you're not ready. Just think about it. I promised to consider it, and after hanging up I felt a weird mix of hope and wariness. Mark raised an eyebrow when I told him. Think they mean it? I shrugged. Maybe. But I'm not going to put all my faith in one phone call. They need to show they're willing to change, not just say it. Emily was cautiously optimistic when I updated her. People can change, but they have to want to. If therapy helps them see your side, it might be worth a shot. That weekend, Rachel and I met up for coffee. She seemed genuinely happy to see me, and it felt good to talk without the looming tension of family drama. I think they're really trying this time, she said. It's just going to take a while for them to get out of the mindset that Lucas is untouchable. I nodded, understanding all too well. I'm willing to give it a shot, but if they start making excuses for him again, I'm out. She smiled. That's fair. Just don't let them pull you back into the old dynamic. You deserve to be heard. As we parted ways, I felt something new, peace. I wasn't rushing to forgive, but I wasn't consumed by anger either. I had finally drawn my line, and for once I wasn't backing down. Hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. Help this small channel grow by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Every bit of support means the world. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.